a drink every time Amanda says there's nothing scarier than the unknown. Or there's nothing scarier than the mind.
Oh gosh.
Those are your two scariest things.
I know. Hi guys, it's Amanda here, your Cutie of Carnage.
And I'm JESS KORESH, sitting on the wrong side.
Here on ChannelSundown, mixing things up. If you guys can see, I'm a little overdressed today because I have nothing to dress up for, so I figured today I'm curling my hair, so I did my hair pretty for you guys. Isn't that sweet? But if I get a flower in my eye, I'll apologize. Today we are doing a film review, and that is going to be 2019's Lighthouse. Is it considered 2019 or 2020?
I think it was released in theaters and festival circuits in 2019, so I think it's in 2019.
Okay, so we didn't see it until this year, but the 2019 Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was directed by Robert Eggers, which you guys know is also the director of the very popular, I wouldn't say popular, but very talked about 2015 The Witch. The Lighthouse is starring a full cast of 2 people. And that is William Dafoe, of course, who's Dufresne. Have you guys ever seen that meme? It's like Dufresne Dafoe. I love that meme. But anyways, every time I say William Dafoe, I'm like, Dufresne Dafoe. Anyways, yeah. William Dafoe. And of course, the second star of the full cast, and that is Mr. Robert Pattinson, which everybody knows from Twilight. But I knew him before Twilight when he was on Harry Potter. He was on Harry Potter. And he was, I don't remember which character. I'm not really big into Harry Potter. Forgive me, guys, I'm pushing these flowers because they're falling on my eyes. My dad loves Harry Potter, but I'm not really big into it. But he played like one of the guys who died. Spoiler alert, yeah.
Spoiler alert for those 20-year-old movies.
Yeah, right? Like William Dafoe, not William Dafoe, Robert Pattinson died in Harry Potter. He was like a popular kid. But anyways, yeah. So he stars in this. William Dafoe, William Dufresne, and Robert Pattinson. For the many of you who have not seen The Lighthouse, this is going to be a non-spoiler review. Of course, I put that in the title. This is a non-spoiler review. That being said, this is going to be a really hard discussion without spoiling anything. And it's really kind of hard to kind of tell you what the film's about without spoiling anything. And this film, basically, you start off, it's 2 men. And they go and, Robert Pattinson's character is kind of this new guy working for William Dafoe at this lighthouse. And they get to their destination, and the thing about the film is it doesn't really jump into it right away. Like, they don't even do, like, the dialogue till nearly, like, partly into the film when they finally speak to each other. And they're working with each other, and you kind of find out that things are kind of not what they seem. If I could say that. It's really hard to kind of get into it without spoiling it. But you guys stay tuned because we'll have, like, after the credits, we'll talk a few points about spoilers. But right now we won't. But if you guys stay tuned until after, I'll have a few points of my opinions that are spoilers. So yeah. Anyways, how can you really explain the film without getting to spoilers?
How can you explain this movie, period?
2 men that you kind of go there and they work at this lighthouse and things happen and things get very crazy and you don't really know what's going on, and that's kind of the standpoint of we're getting into the pros and the cons because I have a few things to say about it. Alright, my first pro about the film that I think benefits the film is the fact the film is actually black and white. How do I say? Very vintage quality. It's black and white. And I don't really know how it's filmed, technically. Very square. It's very square. There's not much of a wide atmosphere. It's very square, so it feels very vintage. And like I said when I was giving kind of the standpoints of the story, the dialogue, there's not a lot of dialogue in the film. There's not a lot of dialogue. And you don't really go into much of the dialogue until kind of what did you say, like a few minutes in, like it takes a minute, you know, they get to the island, you see where they're staying, you see them kind of with the work atmosphere and stuff, and then you after you establish the atmosphere, it then kind of dives into the dialogue, and even the dialogue itself is very limited. It's very limited. It's not kind of like, hey Jim, what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow, like they don't do that at all. Like when they say something, it's very point into it. So all the dialogues have something to do with the story and kind of set something that it needs to set up. It's not like pointless dialogue. And my other positive is that the film is very visually appealing. It's very visually appealing, and the standpoint is it's not downright pretty, but it's very intriguing. It really grabs you. It kind of, you know, just a simple standpoint of like the ocean and of the lighthouse. It's very intriguing. With, you know, it's not visually, like I said, it's not visually beautiful. I mean, there's parts that are beautiful, but it's very intriguing. It's a very kind of thing that you see and you're kind of like, what's going on here? So it grabs your eye and it makes you watch the atmosphere. You have to go into detail. You have to see what's going on around, because little things that you might miss, like in the ocean and in the lighthouse and stuff, has little fixtures that aren't like the film doesn't just sit there and fix on it. You have to like look in the atmosphere, and then you notice stuff. I also really like how they take things like the lighthouse and the ocean, and they kind of establish it in the story, and you feel like these are characters. You feel like there's a character with the ocean, and there's a character with the lighthouse, where you kind of, repeat myself a million times, not going to get too much into it, but with the story going, you feel like kind of like you look at the lighthouse and you look at the ocean, you feel like they're established characters with the story. You kind of take the ocean as, you know, a main star in the story. So even though I say two people are in the film, you kind of, there's other parts of the story that kind of, you know, you feel like the lighthouse is its own character. It benefits the story, and then the ocean and a seagull. We'll just say there's a seagull who you know, has a standpoint in the story too. And another thing is, this film is heavy on symbolism. This film is heavy on symbolism. So you kind of look into things, just like I said, like without getting repeated a million times, I'm not going to say it again, but going into the story, you know, they have a lot of things that symbolize it, and everything kind of comes full circle, and everything kind of, you know, how do I say, like foreshadowing for later in the film, and it's really, everything symbolizes something, and it kind of grasps, and everything comes around, not fully to where things aren't fed to you, you're not fed things in this film. You have to go back and think about it, and then little things from earlier in the film kind of build up to kind of, you know, a point of, I guess, conclusion. Well, I wouldn't really say conclusion, but I'll say like, you know, a other point. So kind of like a domino effect kind of deal. This film is very open. Other people get different ideas of film. People come to different conclusions. People come to different symbolism and everything. So this film is very open-ended, I guess the best way to put it. It's very open to interpretation, if that makes any sense. And another good part about the film that I really liked, and this is really kind of weird to say because you don't really see this in film anymore, the camera, the way it moves. It's within scenes like the hallway, like just like turning to look down like a hallway. It sounds, I know a lot of films do that, but the way this film kind of does it, the camera movement, it felt very, like, I'll repeat myself, felt very vintage. It felt very vintage. And with things that happen that are very unsettling, you don't know, like, do you want to look? And it's kind of like you being like, because when something happens, you think, the first thing you think of is what's behind you or what's down here, and like the camera kind of moves, so it feels kind of like a POV, I guess, point of view kind of thing. So the way the camera moves, I guess, if that makes any sense. The camera movement was vintage. So that concludes my pros. Now I want to hear Jesse's pros. He's like, you have enough, Amanda. You'd rather just have one.
Yeah. A lot of my pros agree with what you were saying, because strangely enough, when my first one was that it's black and white. Because this movie looks very good in black and white, and I can't imagine it being in anything else. There are a lot of newer movies that are filmed in black and white, when there were a lot of people are turned off by black and white, and usually, I mean, I'm kind of in the middle, like it doesn't bother me and I don't love it, But for this movie, it was perfect because it had, like you said, it was very vintage. It was almost like it was part of the story. This movie had a very Lovecraftian feel to it to me, and I just think the black and white was a perfect match for this particular movie. The black and white definitely gave into the atmosphere, and like you were talking about, the atmosphere is almost like the third actor in this movie, because this movie is with just two people. It's almost set up like kind of like a play, and when there's two things that are really important, and that's when you just got two characters, and that's one is the dialogue, which was really great, and the other two is the atmosphere, because you need to be able to draw people into it in a movie like this, and I think they really nailed it on both of those.
And you're right, because honestly, like, the dialogue was key because there wasn't much of it. So when there was a communication or there was things being said, you listened and you cut into it because you knew that it was something beneficial to the story, something that you knew that you had to come into the story.
And the acting was great. I mean, I know you'll probably get into the acting, but like you said, the two actors they chose, I feel like were very perfect for this movie. Just like I can't imagine it being in color, I can't imagine any other characters playing the characters that they played.
That's the thing too, because I honestly thought the cast was really good in the role, and they're really good actors. Robert Pattinson, I like Robert Pattinson. So, like, well, of course I like Willem Dafoe, but I like Robert Pattinson. I think he's a really good actor. And I'm just gonna go ahead and warn people, if you guys love Twilight and you're trying to go see I don't even remember what the guy's name was in Twilight, because if you guys, spoiler alert, I don't like Twilight.
Sparkles.
I don't remember his name. I
Edward.
don't know his name. Edward.
King Edward, isn't that right?
I gotta ask my.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, he was a really good actor. They were really good actors in this film and everything. So.
I think if you've kept up with his career, he's done enough things at this point to distance himself from Twilight. Because I mean, he's going to play Batman. So,
yes, he is. Yes, he is.
That'll be interesting. But yeah, I like him as an actor. I never thought I'd say that because when I only knew him from like Harry Potter and Twilight, which it was good in Harry Potter. But yeah, I never thought I'd say that. But I like Robert Pattinson as an actor. He's in some good stuff.
So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my cons, guys. Yes, I have some cons. My first con is going to be that, as stupid as this sounds, I actually had a little bit of a hard time understanding the film, the dialogue. I had a hard time understanding the dialogue sometimes. I know I sound dumb, guys. I sound really stupid right now, but I had to rewind it a bunch. Because thank God I ordered on Vudu, guys, so I had to rewind it a bunch because there's a lot of times they talked with that. What kind of accent was it? It was like.
I'm not sure. They both. Honestly, I'm not sure. They both have very thick accents.
Yeah, and he kind of like mumbled a little bit, and I was just like, what? And I rewind it. So I had a hard time with the dialogue, and even like when they said little like slang terms, I couldn't really understand. I say slang terms, but it's like English terms probably. I couldn't understand. So I had a hard time understanding the dialogue and really so I had to rewind it a few times. But that probably is just me because, I'm slow. So, and my next con is going to be, I actually bitch about this in other films. And so this is kind of a pro and a con kind of thing, is you don't really know these characters. You really don't know these characters. And although that is a pro, I think, on some aspects of the film, because, you want to go in, you don't really need to know much about these characters. But at the same time, you don't really know much about them until later in the film. But I had a lot of questions, and I still kind of didn't understand, like, certain things I didn't know. You find out things about, William Dafoe's character, Robert Pattinson, you find out, I'm not going to, but you find out things about Robert Pattinson, about his past and what he's done, and you're kind of like, oh, well, there you go, Robert Pattinson. Anyways, but honestly, I know I keep saying William Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, but honestly, they don't even say each other's name. They call him, like, bloke and lad. I think their names is, like, I know it's Thomas. Thomas is William Dafoe's character's name, but I don't really remember. It's like Erwin or Robert Pattinson's character's name. They don't really say. I just know Thomas, and yeah. Anyways, I didn't really know much about the characters, but then you find out later about Robert Pattinson's character, and you're kind of like, oh, touche, alright. Now here is my main con. It's like a con slash warning. It's not really, I'm not really saying it's so much a con, but it's kind of a warning I want to tell people. This film is very, I said this as a pro, so now I'm saying as a con. This film is very, push my flower up so I don't get stabbed in the eye. This film is very visual. This film is very visual. There's things in this film that I wasn't expecting to see. There's a lot, it's very sexual in nature. It's very sexual. And there's scenes that I was like...
Not Brokeback Mountain sexual.
Yeah, not Brokeback Mountain sexual, although there is one scene, but again, a spoiler. But, like, it is very sexual, and there's some visuals, because within the film, you know, they have visions, and they have sights, and they see things. Robert Pattinson's character has, you know, has visions, and what have you, and he has one vision, and it, yeah, so, yeah, let's just, just say, if you guys have problems with body parts, seeing body parts, be careful. Because things are shown. Anyways, so spoiler alert. There are things shown. This film is not handed to you. This film is not handed to you by any means. And that is a pro and a con, because I feel like a lot of people who watch, I know a lot of people who watch horror films, friends of mine, are going to watch this film and be like, there was nothing scary about it. And I'm like, yeah, there is. Because it's all about, like Jesse says, take a drink when Amanda says, there's nothing scarier than the mind. The film is not handed to you. It's very open-ending. And the ending, just say it ends somewhere and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, okay. And it's very, how can I say, I learned when I was living in Germany, we had this class called Host Nations. And we learned a lot about European, you know, we learned about mythology, and we learned a lot about stories, and there's a story that I'm not going to say because I think it would be a spoiler, but this film had a lot of bits of all these foreign tales, and the ending kind of put it all in a bunch. You know, about, you know, the stories of the ocean and just, you know, stories of the water and stuff. It kind of comes together in the end, and it takes bits and pieces, and like you said, the ending, you think about the aspects of, like, you know, a scene with Robin Pattinson before he does something crazy and off the wall, and then at the ending it kind of just, you know, the ending is very open, but a lot of people who don't really, that basically, like, people that are going to want to watch this are going to want, like, a Scream ending where they unmask the killer and there it is. They want something like this. But this film is very, like, you've seen everything before this. Now, take the ending what you want. You take what you think. So, yeah. So, that is a pro, like I said, and a con. So, I think that might turn a lot of people away from this film because they're wanting that, you know, package wrapped up. But so, it's pro and a con. But I think that's going to be mostly a con for this film. But I think a lot of people who are going to go see this film are going to be film fans anyways.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think if it were just an average movie, but first of all, it's black and white, so
Yeah.
you're already eliminating a lot of people who would go see, like, because this is more of an art film, I feel like, and so I don't think a lot of people that go see this movie. It's also an A24 film. An A24 film is made for their, like, kind of deeper, really good movies. I don't think a lot of people that are going to this movie are expecting, like, you know, Friday the 13th or you know, like your typical horror movie. I mean, some people may be disappointed by it, but I don't think just the factors alone. You know, people that saw The Witch. I mean, that's kind of a polarizing movie itself. Either people love that movie or they hated it. You know, and I feel like it's going to be the same way with Lighthouse. Either you're going to love this movie or you're going to hate it. So I think people kind of know what they're getting into before they go see this. At least the majority of people. I didn't really have a lot of cons for this movie other than, like you said, it's not handed to you, so some of it's kind of confusing. Yes. I had to watch it. I watched it twice. I'm only going to say that. I had to watch it twice because a lot, you know, if you miss the tiniest little thing.
Well, technically, I watched it twice because I kept rewinding it, so I agree.
And you know I'm bad about, like, oh, I need some water, so I'll go to the kitchen and let the movie play, and then I'll come back and I'm like, what the hell did I just miss? What's going on now? So I missed a lot of stuff, so I had to watch it twice. So it is kind of, you know.
Oh, yeah, pause this movie, guys, if you leave it alone. I'm just telling you
because it can be kind of confusing and open-ended, like Amanda said. There's one thing that I was going to bring up that's kind of annoying in the movie, but I don't know if you're going to bring it up because I saw you told me to look through your notes. I saw it in your notes, but I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of my cons, and then you can just go ahead and talk about it. There is a foghorn.
Oh, I did skip that.
Yeah.
Did I not?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There is a foghorn.
I don't have my glasses on. You see better with me. Yeah, I wrote right here, foghorn. Oh, damn, okay.
That goes off the entire movie in the
Yes.
background. And the only thing that bothers me is it sounds like a phone vibrating. So don't, if you have your phone near you for the first few minutes, for the first 15 minutes, you're going to think your phone's vibrating. Because it's almost like, it sounds like a phone vibrating on a desk or your nightstand or something. Don't keep thinking that your phone's going off because it's not your phone. It's just the foghorn in the background.
Well, see, that was another thing too. Is I was talking about like with the characters of the Lighthouse and everything. Is that like I felt like that foghorn was kind of like a symbolism of the character of the Lighthouse, kind of like just the atmosphere because you constantly heard the horn going off in the back, and you kind of heard the ocean and the seagulls, and like I said, we're not gonna get into it totally, but yeah, you're right. I forgot about.
And you kind of deal with some of it, and it's also kind of like you feel like you're descending into madness, kind of like the characters are because you're dealing with some of the same stuff that that you think. Because then you realize, oh my God, they've got to listen to this the entire time too. For however long they're there, they're hearing this foghorn constantly going off, and so you kind of understand like why they go mad.
Verdict time. Yeah.
I liked it. I kind of want to watch it again. I think it's one of those movies that it needs repeated watchings to fully understand. Kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like one of those a book I want to read.
Like an A24 film.
Yeah, like a typical A24 film. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but it kind of I feel like the more times I watch it, the more this movie's going to grow on me, and that's kind of how it was about The Witch. I didn't necessarily like The Witch at first, but it grew on me with repeated viewings because I picked up more things, and I feel like it's going to be that way with this movie. I feel like the more I watch it, the more I'm going to pick up and like see things I missed the first time, or hear things I didn't hear the first time, or whatnot. So I definitely think it's a movie that requires repeated viewings. But I liked it. I'd give it a B+ or an A-. Just for that, the acting was really incredible. Like I said, I couldn't imagine two other actors playing these characters. It had a lot of positives. I liked the black and white. I liked the look of it. It was very visually appealing. I can't say visually stunning because it didn't have. But for a black and white, it was nice to look at. It was almost looking through a beautiful art book.
Wouldn't say stunning. It was more appealing. It like kind of grabbed me.
Visually appealing. It's nice to look at.
Yeah, it kind of takes you and kind of like when you see an atmosphere. Like I said, it's not like a wide, but like when you see something, kind of luring. It's alluring. Let's just say that lures you in. Alluring. Okay. Anyways, my verdict is going to be. I honestly don't know how I feel about this movie. Because, honestly, I think I'll have to watch it again because, like, there's some part... I thought it was a great story. It was a great story and a great film where it was done well and it was done great. And I really liked it for, the artistic integrity, I guess I'm going to say, of the film. That being said, I don't know if I really felt like it's something I would want to watch again. Like, I don't know how I feel, but first time I watched it, I was like, oh wow, that was really good. I really liked that. But then again, I was like, I don't know if I would want to watch it again. So, I don't know if I could sit there and, like, push, like, because everybody kept talking about this film. Everybody kept saying, hey, check it out. Hey, check it out. I don't know if I have that much feel of the film that I would tell people to go watch it. So I don't know. It's not, by any means, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't know if I have respect for it. Let's just put it that way. I have respect for it, but I don't know if I have love for it. I don't know how to feel about the film.
So it's like a date. You went on the date, you had a good time, but you don't know if you'd go for a second date.
Yeah. Lighthouse 2. Lighthouse 2 Boogaloo. Okay, guys. Well, that concludes our The Lighthouse review. What did you guys think? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know. Comments below. comment below. And like I say all the time, we seek approval. This channel seeks approval. So do not forget to like and subscribe. Like these videos and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, here it is. Alright, in the film, when I was talking about it being very visual, okay, have you ever seen a mermaid vagina? I'm just saying. They have mermaid vaginas. And Robert Pattinson likes mermaid vaginas, apparently, because he is all in that mermaid vagina. Anyway, so yeah, there's mermaid vaginas. And you were talking earlier, you're making a joke about a Brokeback Mountain thing. There's a scene that gets pretty kind of close to intimate with William Dafoe and Robin Pattinson when they're dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just dancing. Right?
I know, but you feel like something's about to happen.
Yeah. Well,
I felt like it. Like, I thought something was about to happen. I was like, oh.
It's a beautiful moment between two friends. That's all it is.
Foreshadowing, the thing I was going to talk about is there's a scene with the seagull, okay? And you kind of go out, and it kind of symbolizes kind of like the second man to the ocean, because the ocean kind of has its own thing with, like, you know, everything. The seagull kind of, bothers Pattinson throughout, you know, the thing. He kind of just comes and makes noises and stuff, and there's a scene where Rob Pattinson takes it and kills it to death. Kills it to death. Yeah. Like, kills it. He makes it die. And then, in the ending, you know, when he falls down the stairs, it kind of comes back to where he's on the ocean, and what's there? The seagulls are eating him out, alive. Eating him out. They're eating him from the middle, alive. And then, so you see the seagulls eating his insides out. So I thought that was a very interesting way of ending it, and I just thought how, like, that came around.
And at one point, Willem Dafoe he warns him not to hurt the seagull.
Yeah, because it's bad luck. Yes, you're right. Yeah, and he just says it's bad luck too. So yeah, there's a lot in the film. Like you said, this film is really hard to talk about without spoiling. But those are a few things that come to my mind. But yeah, this film is y'all. It's different. It's different.